Hello everyone, my name is Prodesilaos, also known as Prod. In this video I want to talk to you about the first year of the hut project. It is not a year since I relocated here, it is a year since I first came up with the idea for the hut. So I want to tell you what has transpired in this past year and talk to you a little bit about what works here, how things stand, what is the state of affairs, what remains to be done, this sort of thing. Just to give you an idea of what's my status like. Let's start with the idea. The idea for the hut. It was an idea that was far-fetched. It happened towards the end of February 2023. At the time, I was growing desperate. I was growing desperate because I had to relocate. I had to find a place to stay. I was renting a home, and the landlord wanted to reclaim the property for their own purposes. I was searching for a place to rent, but I couldn't find anything in the wider region, in the mountains of Cyprus. And that was something that I was doing for several months, and I was unsuccessful. I was growing desperate, and I didn't know what to do. During one of my long walks, I came up with this funny idea, and I laughed out loud at the time. I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we had the houses like the Smurfs do? So if we had those mushroom houses, and our houses would just spring out of nowhere, they would just pop up the way mushrooms do. And I was like, that's nice. But we are human, and so we are in the state of affairs that we are in this mess. Smurfs have it good in that regard. I didn't take the idea seriously. I just thought about it, it was funny, and then I laughed it away, but it registered. And many times the things you take seriously start off as a joke. And this was definitely one of those times. I kept searching for a place to rent. And I went to a village further away from the city than where I used to live, hoping that there the rates would be affordable. I was thinking as much because the place was further away from the city. Public transport networks are not that well established here. So I was like, okay, this cannot be expensive. So I go there. The landlord didn't specify a price, and I was hoping for something in the range of 300 euro. So the landlord shows me around the place. It was a studio, and I see it. It is small, and I am hopeful that this will be affordable. So I ask, okay, what's the rate? And the landlord says 800 euro. And I thought I misheard. I'm like, sorry, can you repeat? 800 euro. And I'm like, seriously, 800 euro? We are not in some megalopolis. This is in the middle of nowhere. We are in the mountains. There is no public transport, blah, blah, blah. Are you sure? My house, my rules. Take it or leave it. And I'm like, wow, I am surprised. But let's say that I do take it. Can I bring my dog with me? And the landlord is like, no pets allowed, definitely not dogs. My house, my rules, and kept repeating that mantra. And I was like, fine. My dog, though, is the best canine citizen you will probably ever meet. I am an expert. I know how to train dogs. It's not a dog, basically. It's like having another human at home. No, dogs are a mess, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. So I left. I was dejected, but I was also angry. Not at the person, I was angry at the state of our world, at the state of affairs. And I was like, I will not accept this. This is not how it will end. I will not let it be that way. So I started thinking about the hut seriously. I was like, I have to do something because trying to find a place to rent is only delaying the inevitable. Like 3 years from now, I will still be in the same situation. The price of accommodation will continue to rise. I will continue being in a precarious spot. It's not going to work. And this is why I also did not entertain options that I had offers from other people to have me to host me at their place to provide a room or a couch or something. That would have worked in the short term, but it would still be a matter of kicking the can down the road. Whereas I needed a solution that would give me the modicum of stability I need in my life. So I was like, no, no, none of this anymore. I will build the hut. And then I was like, okay, now I have to find a place to build the hut. So, with the help of locals, I was able to do the paperwork and everything for where I am. And then it was a matter of doing the actual work. I have experience in construction work. It's one of the jobs that I have been doing for several years since I got to the mountains here in Cyprus. Part time jobs, manual labor here and there. So I knew my way around the construction site. I didn't know how to build a house from scratch. Now I do. At the time, I didn't know how to do it, but I was eager to learn. And more importantly, I was determined to do something. So I wasn't going to stop at anything. I consulted with people that I knew from my work, fellow co workers. I know a lot of people in this industry. And I was able to piece together the requisite expertise for materials, for all sorts of technicalities. And I was confident that I could do it. Furthermore, I was able to gain access to second-hand materials as well as special discounts. So everything came in cheap, either totally free or practically free or at a fair price. So I was lucky in that regard, and I not just lucky, I was benefited. I was at the receiving end of help from a lot of people, small contributions from lots of different people. So that was great because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to build this. When I first came here, it was the early spring 2023. The place was an abandoned vineyard and it was overgrown with vegetation. Here there were tangles of anything you can imagine. There were bushes, there were shrubs, there were ivies, there were whatever you can imagine, canes. It was so dense you couldn't actually see the other side of the vineyard. It was kind of scary. It was like, what is happening here? Where am I going? Is this the wilderness? What should I expect here? It was also full of mosquitoes and bugs. It was like you were entering some swampland. It was like otherworldly. Really, it was really something different. But I wouldn't. I remained unfazed. I wouldn't let that deter me. So what I did is I started clearing the land. Of course, I couldn't just clear the land and finish the clearing and then do the construction work because I was under pressure to do something about my accommodation needs. I had to leave that other place and I kept receiving one ultimatum after the other from the landlord, but I kept dithering and I showed that person the progress I was doing here, so they didn't pull the trigger. They didn't carry out their threats. Anyhow, I cleared enough of the land here to start construction work, and I did that with the help of volunteers, fellow co-workers who helped me with the various technicalities here. such as when I was doing the frame for the concrete, for the foundation. I had someone help me so that the alignments and everything would be done correctly. As I said, I know my way around the construction work, the construction site. I knew my way around the construction site, but I was not an expert. I was just an assistant at the time when I was doing these works. But with the help of people like that, I managed to do everything piece by piece. The design, the schematics of the house are entirely my own. I did everything myself, and I just consulted with an architect just to get the confirmation. So the architect didn't actually design anything. They just said okay, and then they took the same idea and they did some fancy presentation of it for the requisite paperwork. But the design is entirely my own. I did it myself because I am very specific about what I want. And the idea was to optimize exposure to sunlight. I walk a lot. I walk a lot around these mountains and I know my way around. I am excellent with my orientation and I know the placement of the sun during different phases of the year. So what I wanted to do and what I ended up doing was to optimize for exposure to sunlight during winter time, meaning that the east side of the hut is looking towards the sunrise at winter. So that's important, not summer, because during the summer the sun rises from the northeast, whereas during the winter it's southeast. So that makes a big difference when it comes to winter time in particular, because if you don't do it correctly, you won't get enough sunshine. So you want the eastern and the southern sides to be exposed to the sun during the winter. Of course, I am in the northern hemisphere. If you are in the southern hemisphere, it's east and south. So you east and north rather. So you have to adjust accordingly. So I anyway designed that, and I have provisions. So it's not all done yet. Provisions for a grid of airflow, meaning that there should be windows on opposite ends, and these would provide the requisite cooling during summertime. But I will be working on that in the coming months. The metallic skeleton that you see over here is something that I did with the help of an expert. I didn't know how to work with metal. I had somebody else help me with that. Now I have learned, of course, so from now on, if I need to do any metal works, I know how to do it. But at the time, I didn't have the expertise. Of course, I could have tried, but that would have been very risky because you don't want to get this wrong. It will come down crushing you. That's fine. The walls, what you see, the walls over here and the ceiling, they are just a standard material. They are sheets, a synthetic material. It has a hardened exterior and a softer interior. The exterior is a thin layer of metal, and the interior is some kind of consolidated, foamy, spongy material, a synthetic one. It's known colloquially as a sandwich. That's how it's called. This was not my original plan, but after careful consultation with lots of people, they convinced me that my plan, while workable, wouldn't be sustainable. So I wanted to use wooden pallets and fill them in with some kind of insulation, such as hay. That would have worked, but it would decay, it would have other problems. So eventually I opted for this, which will last longer. So this is the idea. The tracking for the cables and everything was done by a good friend of mine who is an electrician, and I got all that for free. Everything with electricity is for free. Of course, it's a friend, so this is a special. You wouldn't get any electrician to work for free, right? So for that, I am thankful. Speaking of the electrician, the place here has electricity coming from an off-grid solar panel system. I installed the skeleton of the solar panels myself. I did everything myself there. Maybe you have seen the video, so I had to dig deep holes and in them drive some very large, like comically large screws. Like if you see it, you're like, okay, what is happening here? So I had to do that, and then I built the scaffold. I don't know if it's a scaffold actually, but anyway, the structure that supports the solar panels. And then, with the help of my friend, I installed the panels and then did the setup here, bring electricity with the inverter and everything. To do the electricity, I had to build an electricity cabin which houses the inverter and which also has the switches and all that stuff. That I built myself using second-hand materials, using old doors. And this goes again to what I mentioned earlier, to the point I made earlier about having access to cheap materials or materials that I get entirely for free, such as those doors. Again, people wanting to help. It's not that they would give it away for free, but they did it for my benefit. I think that was a very nice gesture. So I was able to do the electricity cabin with these old doors. It's perfectly fine. I added some metallic sheets on their exterior and it's totally working. It's basically the same idea for what I have for the greenhouse. Same principle. So I have that. The water cabin, so the toilet, the bathroom, is a separate building, but it is designed the same way as this, meaning that it is a metallic skeleton and then sandwich all around. This is the idea. But it is a standalone building, so it's not connected to the hut. It is on its own. Again, this is my design. I wanted it this way because it's healthier, basically, and it's easier to work with because then I wouldn't need to have provisions in case some pipe breaks or whatever, how to manage in the hut. So it was easy as well as healthier. It was easier as well as healthier. So I did it that way. Now about how life is here. In terms of electricity, I have batteries to store power during the day and supply it during the night. However, the capacity is limited, and so I don't have electricity all day long. If I am using the desktop computer, I have to use it until 4 o'clock at the latest. If I use it for longer, then that takes away from nighttime usage. So 4 o'clock at the latest, I switch off the desktop. When it was from October to December, this was actually done earlier because there is less sunlight. The days are shorter, so of course there is less power. But now we are the days are growing, so now gradually I will be able to switch it off at 4:30 and then at 5 until the peak time, which is in June, the summer solstice. But until then, yeah, it will keep increasing. So I have to arrange my activities such that I have electricity early in the morning and then until midday, a bit after midday, have everything done. So I cannot work anytime I want. I don't work in the early morning hours, even if I am awake. So I don't have access to electricity, and I don't work late at night. Again, same idea. Not because I don't want or because I cannot, it's because there is no power. So that is one of the constraints. Here in the future, the plan is to expand the capacity of the batteries, but I can live the way it is now, but of course, I don't have kitchen appliances or a washing machine or anything that drains energy. So, of course, it's easy this way. But if I were to add all these additional devices, then of course I would need more battery power for sure, battery capacity for sure. So there is that. In terms of the water, I don't have hot water here. For me, this is not a problem. I have been doing cold showers for years. I don't recommend it, by the way. Don't try that. If you are not used to doing cold showers, don't try it. It can be dangerous. But if your diet, fitness, etc., is right, then consider doing it. In my experience, it is invigorating. But anyway, cold showers. So for me, the absence of hot water is not a problem. Of course, it is necessary if I have visitors, like if I have relatives coming or something, then, or a friend or whatever, then of course I need to have hot water. But for the time being, it's totally okay. So there is that. In terms of everyday life, this place is quiet. It is outside any built up area, so it's in the fields. There is a village. There is a village nearby, but I don't have any neighbors here. And to get to the village, it's actually 20 minutes away. So it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's also not inside of any the boundaries of any village. That's the idea. I like it here. I like the quietude. There are only, like a car will pass, will drive by once every few hours because they are doing some work at the vineyards. Maybe they are pruning. Actually, a car is passing now. So it's a truck for the farm, for the vineyards. But a car will pass once every few hours, and otherwise it's totally quiet here. And there are times in the year where not even one car will pass by. The surrounding area here is, I am very close to a river, so I'm like 3 minutes away from the river, 3 minutes on foot, like it's right there. And I also have a stream on the other side. So this place is very humid. And depending on the day, there can be humidity dripping from the walls. It's like it's raining. So there is a lot of humidity here. There is also, because I am at the base of the valley, I have also done a lot of work to control floods and to make sure that water doesn't flow into the building. Like if it's coming from further up the valley, I am channeling it, I am directing it elsewhere. So this is, I have put a lot of work into flood control, and I think it has been nicely done. Everything has been nicely done, but I am keeping an eye on it, and if I need to do more work, I will do more work about that, so that's totally fine. The things that remain to be done. The hut is still a work in progress. What you see here is done, mostly done. Of course, it's not done. I still need to paint it. There are still parts in the walls that I need to seal off so that it's still not cold. There are spots in the walls as well as the base of the walls and the ceiling that I need to waterproof. I need to insulate further. If it's raining heavily, I get water in the hut and I have to drain it with a bucket, just like that. It is annoying, it is disheartening, it is difficult. I don't mean to imply otherwise, but it's the cost of not having to live the nightmare I was living before. Nightmare, not figuratively. I actually experienced nightmares of being chased away and of carrying nothing but a suitcase and struggling to escape from that dogged pursuit, lots of sleepless nights, and to not have that anymore, I am happy to drain buckets of water. I don't mind at all. But the reality is that here the place is still leaking. There are a few spots I need to fix. Hopefully, I will do it this coming spring or in the summer, depending on how it goes, because of course I need the materials and stuff. But as soon as I can, I will tend to that. There are still parts that I need to build, so I need to add more windows. I need to do the floor. I haven't done that. I need to paint all the pieces of metal here. So there are a lot of things that need to be done. The kitchen, I need to fix it, refine it, have all the kitchen appliances. So yeah, I say that realistically speaking, with little investments here and there, within 5 years, give or take, this will be up to the standard of an ordinary house. But until then, it is a hut. It is the place where I stay, but where I understand that others wouldn't want to be here, because of course, given my situation, this is better than what could have been, and what could have been is homelessness, the worst case scenario, which was a real prospect at the time. But relative to that, this is great. But of course, it's not great relative to what you may be used to. So that I recognize, and I want to fix it. I will eventually show you the inside of the hut, but not now, because I want to finish it. I don't think it's nice to show you something that is incomplete, because I am lowering my standards when it comes to how a place should be, not because I have low standards, but because I understand where I am coming from. But if I do that in a video, somebody who doesn't know me, who doesn't know my situation, may think things, and I don't want such misunderstandings to occur. Anyway, I have been talking for almost 30 minutes here. This is the idea. In short, it's working. It's not perfect. There are lots of problems, lots of parts missing. I am adapting. It's hard. I do all the work, but it's working. And I am happy with it. I am happy for having peace of mind, none of those nightmares anymore. And I am optimistic that it will continue to improve here. I will continue working here and see how it goes. My plan for the future, of course, is to stay exactly where I am. This was not my, ideal life or whatever. I didn't have this, how do you see yourself in 5 years sort of thing. None of that. I think I was just cast aside. I feel like I was like a pine cone blew away. I was blown away by the wind, and I landed here in this piece of land. So I might as well grow roots and turn into a pine tree. But yeah, this was not plan A. But it doesn't really matter. Now it is plan A, and I am wholeheartedly embracing the new lifestyle that comes with it. Meaning that I will be, over time, of course, getting into agriculture, cultivating the land, doing more stuff, and I want to build an oven, a traditional oven, and lots of other things, which I hope to show you when the time is right, when I do them. That's all for now, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care, and remember that if you are in a difficult situation, don't give up. Don't give up. You have to muster the courage, and even if you don't have all the expertise to do it, if you have the eagerness to work, the determination to do it, you can find help. And if you show that you are not messing around, People will help you. So remember that. Take care, folks. Goodbye.